Hi, this is Barry, and welcome to my first podcast on this subject of my journey with God and with cancer. And most of you have known me as a kind of a wacky artist, musician, actor. And yeah, I am wacky, but the wackiness probably came from a choice I made in my 20s. Instead of following a career path, I decided to look for truth. What the heck is that? What the heck does a 20-year-old do as a career choice to search for truth? That was all that mattered to me at the time. And through a lot of mystical experiences and research, I read everything from the Kabbalah to Genghis Khan. I just read everything. I wanted to know if there really was God and if there really was Jesus. And, well, long story short, though it is as a podcast and I'm supposed to talk a lot, excuse me, but long story short, I discovered for myself that there really is a loving, mystical God that responds to loving mystical things. So that was my journey, and it's still going on. And then when I was thrown the diagnosis of cancer, 4 or 5 months ago, I renewed my mystical experience with God because up until then, life was going on as it always does for everybody, one day at a time, and what's going to happen next, and what am I doing here, and why am I here, and blah, blah, blah. But when the cancer struck, it reminded me of my priorities, which was a truth. And, truth, you can't really describe truth intellectually. In fact, you can't describe a truth at all. You just experience a truth. And that's what I did in my 20s, and that's what makes me tick, is when I experience a truth. And it's kind of like turning on a light in a dark room. That's what truth is. And everybody has these experiences, moments of truth in their life. And there's no truth that can be written down, because everything changes. So I'm not going to say a list of truths, because that doesn't exist. But truth is in the moment, and everything is in the moment. When we dwell on the past and the future, obviously we're not in the moment, but you've all heard that before, so I'm not going to go down that road of dwelling in the past and the present. But with cancer, it gives you a finality in your life. It gives you a, here's some statistics. I could live 6.3 months. I could live a year. I could go tomorrow. Of course, that's true of all of us. You walk out the front door and a cement truck comes by and dumps cement on you. That could happen. Unlikely, but it's part of the possibilities. So, with the cancer thing, I committed myself to God's timeline. And that means that I don't know how long I'm going to have with or without cancer. None of us do, but with cancer, again, I'm repeating myself here, finality. So I figured out that if I was useful to God, and that means doing something like this podcast, being available to my friends, being entertaining, continuing doing wacky music, whatever the heck I do. If I continue to do that, then I'm probably useful. If I shut down and retreat and go, woe is me, and destroy myself with chemotherapy, which was an option, if I do all of that, then I might not be useful to God anymore. And I think God wants me to rely on him, and that's what I'm doing. I gave up chemo after one treatment, partially because I thought it would kill me, and it may have, but also because I would be in a continually sick state. With chemo therapy, it knocks you out. It makes you sick. You can't do anything. You can't feel good for weeks. And then as soon as you recover, they do it to you again. And as soon as you recover from that, they do it to you again. And as soon as you recover from that, they do it to you again. And then they take out your stomach, in my case. And then they do it to you again. So I figured, living like that for months and months, I would be not available to my friends. I would be not available to do any music, any entertainment, any performing, anything. And so I said, God, you don't really want me to do that, do you? I didn't put it that way because, he doesn't exactly answer in those sort of questions. But I felt this warmth and this light that kept saying, keep going. If you don't want to do chemo, I honor that. And I will watch out for you. Don't worry. These are not words. That God doesn't talk to me in words necessarily, though sometimes maybe he does. I don't know. But it was more of a feeling, more of a sensation, more of a feeling of warmth and light. And yes, this is your path. And it's scary because it goes against science. It goes against statistics. It goes against the norm. It goes against advice from doctors. So I did it. And months later, I'm still here. I'm feeling relatively well. I have times where I don't feel so good. But I'm basically pretty happy. So that's the journey up until this moment.
You were the Word at the beginning, one with God the Lord Most High. Your hidden glory in creation, now revealed in you are Christ. What a wonderful name it is. What a wonderful name it is. The name of Jesus Christ my King. What a wonderful name it is. Nothing compares to this. What a wonderful name it is. The name of Jesus. You didn't want heaven without us, so Jesus, you brought heaven now. Your grace was great, your love was greater. What could separate us now? What a wonderful name it is. What a wonderful name it is. The name of Jesus Christ my King. What a wonderful name it is. Nothing compares to this. What a wonderful name it is. The name of Jesus. What a wonderful name it is. The name of Jesus. Death could not hold you. The veil tore before you. You silenced the boast of sin and grave. The heavens are roaring, the praise of your glory. For you are raised to life again. You have no rival, Yours is the kingdom, yours is the glory, yours is the name above all names. What a powerful name it is, what a powerful name it is, the name of Jesus Christ my King. What a powerful name it is, nothing can stand against. What a powerful name it is, the name of Jesus. What a powerful name it is, the name of Jesus. What a powerful name it is, the name of Jesus.
So before I continue with the podcast itself, I wanted to acknowledge that song and the performer. That's my bandmate and good friend, Michael Delaio. And he sang and arranged that song. And he'll be doing music throughout my podcasts because this is how he expresses his faith, through his music. And I'm expressing my faith through talking. He's expressing his through music, and we're sharing this space. So you'll be hearing music from him during these podcasts. And the name of the song was "What a Beautiful Name," and it was written by Ben Fielding and Brooke Ligertwood. And the journey will continue. But of course, I don't know the outcome. And that's what a journey is. That's what a journey of faith is. And you can't have faith and figure out an intellectual path at the same time. It doesn't work that way. Faith is literally going intellectually and logically blind as you journey into and from a feeling of yes, this is what I'm supposed to do. And you can't ever prove that to anybody. There's no way that someone will understand that and honor it. They may honor it because they care about you, but they can't honor it as their own experience. But you can get encouragement. I even got encouragement from the oncologist, the guy that was giving me the chemo. And when we started talking about the chemo, and man, they scare the heck out of you with that stuff. They tell you you can lose this, you can lose your organs, your immune system shuts down, you could die. When they start telling you this stuff, it scares the heck out of you, obviously. But then this oncologist said, but anytime you want to stop, you're not obligated to stay on this forever. You can stop whenever you want. And I figured, okay, I owe it to myself. I owe it to my wife. I owe it to somebody to try this, to try the chemotherapy. And after the first one, I knew that was not my path. And my wife and I decided together, because she's on my journey as well. She can't help it. She's kind of stuck with me here. We decided I'm going to go with this path of faith. And when I told the oncologist, not only did he say, that's fine, he almost blessed me. He almost understood the dilemma. I mean, oncologists, I have read, don't even give chemo to their own families if their own families get chemo. If their own families get cancer, it's a almost barbaric treatment. It destroys your body. And it does work for some people, but it destroys your body. And then they give you another drug, and this one was very expensive. I won't even go into how much it was. They give you another drug to fix what the other drug did. It's insane. But that's what we have in the United States as a science and a medical option. So anyway, the oncologist said, don't worry about it. In fact, I honor your decision and you can still talk to me anytime. And then I haven't had to talk to him. But this has been now a couple of months. And I have good days and bad days with the cancer, but I'm doing all right. So that's about the cancer. So now I want to go back a little bit and talk about this decision I made in my 20s to search for truth. Now, I was in Portland, Oregon at the time. I was a gadabout poet, musician. I kind of was a jerk. I mean, I was a real jerk. I was a real a-hole to my wife at the time, my first wife. I've only had two. That's not too bad. I'm not a Harry Weinberger or whatever the guy is. So I was not very kind to my first wife, and I've repented of that. But searching for truth is a very strange path, because how do you really find it? You find it by the process of elimination. You kind of strip away things that you find are not truth, and you keep it's just like peeling an onion. You keep undoing layer upon layer upon layer until something glows, something strikes you. And what I discovered was that there really is a hell, and I can I can explain that as I saw it, and there is a heaven. So let me tell you what I saw hell as. I saw hell as living here on this earth, on this planet, in this life, without a way out, without an escape, without a belief that there is something more. And it doesn't matter what kind of life you're living. It could be a wonderful, materialistic, soft life of ease. And in fact, that may be a worse hell because there's nowhere to go from there. Or you could be in a horrible, tormenting hell. But if you don't have a vision of something more, if you cannot believe in something besides this experience of torment, whether it be good or bad, that is hell. There's no way out. And it's being locked in a box, and there's no door, there's no window. To me, that is what hell is. It's not a place you go. Now, if you die in that state, I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to claim to know what that would be, but it's a living hell when you have no way out. So that's what hell was for me, or what is hell. And I actually don't really know what heaven is, except I know that it is an infinite journey of endless wonder and warmth and light. I know that. I don't know if we actually see people there. I don't know if we have a body. I don't know any of that. But I know that it is the most wonderful thing that you could imagine, and then tenfold on that. And I experienced that in a mystical moment up in Portland in the 70s. And it wasn't drugs. Yes, I have taken a few puffs of various sundries and such, but this was not that case. So with all of this, I was convinced deep within my soul, and not because somebody told me, that there is a God and there is a responsive person or creature or being or entity. God is more than that, but he responds to kindness. He responds to love. And how do you access him? Is by forcing yourself to go against your own nature, unless you're already a loving, kind person, but forcing yourself to go against your own nature and start doing loving, kind things. And that's what I had to do. I did it logically. I did it scientifically. I didn't know if it really worked because I just wasn't a kind person. I just wasn't. And so I thought, all right, let me try this. Let me apply these Judeo-Christian values to my life and see what happens.
I have a maker. He formed my heart before even time began. My life was in His hand. He knows my name. He knows my every thought. He sees each tear that falls, and He hears me when I call. I have a Father. He calls me His own. He'll never leave me, no matter where I roam. He knows my name. He knows my every thought. He sees each tear that falls and hears me when I call. He knows my name. He knows my every thought, and He sees each tear that falls and hears me when I call. You know my name. You know my name. And you know my every thought. And you see each tear that falls, and you hear me when I call. And you hear me when I call. And you hear me when I call.
And by gum, by gosh, things just became great, wonderful. I experienced, I had blessings. It was like, it really, really worked. Now, this is a lot of you, it's like preaching to the choir. You already know this, but for anybody that doesn't know it, doesn't believe it, maybe that's why I'm doing this podcast thing. I don't know. So that's when I knew that there was a God at that point, when I applied these scientific principles of kindness. I didn't really feel it. I just applied them, and then I started to feel things. So when this happened, it reversed my life. I realized I had a lot of making up of things that I needed to do for a lot of people. And I spent many, many years in this kind of purgatory, self-imposed purgatory, or maybe it was God-imposed purgatory. Either way, I spent a lot of years staying very low key, and just finding places and people anywhere I could to do acts of kindness and help out. And I've been doing that ever since. I especially did a lot of it at the Sierra Madre Playhouse. I worked with a lot of young people, and because I was a very unusual person in that I wasn't a typical adult that they would run into because of my background experience, I made an impression on them. I remember one young man, I worked in the light booth with him, and he was a bit of a rogue. He was always getting in trouble. And I suppose I was in my 40s at that time. He was in his 20s. And he respected me. I was one of the few adults that he respected. And he's kind of wondered how I got away with being the different kind of person that I was, that didn't really follow the social norms, but yet I was respected and people respected me, looked up to me, but yet I wasn't like everybody else. I really, went to the beat of my own drummer, and he wanted to know, he saw that as a freedom. He saw that as honesty. And he said, how do you do it? And I said, I live above the law, but I live above the law because I'm honest. That's the trick. Honest people don't need law. It's the dishonest people. And we all are honest sometimes, dishonest at others. And that's why the laws are there to kind of reel us back in. But I was a very pure, honest person during this period. And so the laws didn't really affect me. They applied to me, but I knew that if I disobeyed a law, it was not for the sake of disobeying it. It was for the sake of something greater. Now, that may sound grandiose and egotistical, but let's use the example of Jesus back in his day. He would disobey the law that was of the Pharisees, the Pharisaical law, the Jewish law, of not healing somebody on a Saturday, on a Sabbath. That was a law that you don't do anything, you don't do work on the Sabbath. You don't do anything except, pray or whatever they would do. However, Jesus went ahead and healed people on the Sabbath, on a Saturday. Now, he broke the law, true, but he did it for a grander purpose. He healed a human being. Okay, so scaling that back to my life, I would break little laws, but they would be for the greater good. They would be not for the law in itself. Laws are made for people. People are not made for laws. If you have to run a red light because it's an emergency and somebody's going to die and it's safe, you run the red light. It's laws are there for stability, but they're not the absolute. They're not the absolute. So, getting back to this young man, this is why he respected me. And I told him, to live above laws, you must be honest. You have to be good. You cannot disobey laws and be a dishonest person. You're done for. And if you are a dishonest person and you obey laws out of resentment and you don't believe in them because you're still a dishonest person, and you obey laws simply because you have to or you'll go to jail, you're not going to enjoy life. It's becoming a new person, becoming an honest person. And being honest is not necessarily hiding. If you were a German citizen back in the Nazi days, and somebody came knocking at your door, the Nazis, and say, "Are you hiding any Jews here?" Well, you're not going to be honest and say, "Yes, I am." You'll say, "No, I'm not. It's for the greater good." So this is my outlook on laws and honesty. If it serves a greater good and not your own ego agenda, but if it serves a greater good, and then it's worth the alteration of staying off the path of or staying on the path of laws and regulations. Now, there's a very fine line, I suppose, between your ego and the greater good. Yeah, I suppose you could look at your own ego as the greater good, and that's a very dangerous place to be. I suppose Hitler would be a great example of that. But if you are very attuned to the universe and God as you know him, you will understand what the greater good really is. And it's I'm still learning about it, but anything that feeds and serves the ego and you call it the greater good, that's something to be very cautious about, or something to watch out for.